All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Branden Messier. I am one of the partners here at Bosecke LLP. There is two other partners here. Maggie, he's over there with the lobby. We also have Carl. For this presentation, I wanted to kind of give you like breakdown of like the role of the lawyer, the real estate transactions, and some things that you should know about the transactions. And some of the stuff is going to be repetitive from the previous presentations. But yeah, let's just go into it here. So a bit of an agenda. So we'll go over the role of the lawyer, when you should contact a lawyer, reviewing the offer, real property reports versus title insurance, due diligence, working with your lender, the signing appointments, calculating closing costs, and then what happens on possession day, and then we'll end with some questions. So the role of the lawyer. So this is kind of a breakdown from beginning to end what the lawyer does. So they review the transaction documents and make sure the purchaser is complying with the terms and conditions of the contract. We'll conduct title searches and property tax searches for the property. Then we'll coordinate with your lender, receive the mortgage instructions, satisfy any lender conditions, and then register the mortgage. We'll also obtain a real property report in compliance or title insurance. I guess I'll get into that a bit later. We'll prepare the actual transfer documents that get registered on land titles, and then we'll obtain the mortgage proceeds from your lender. Then we'll pay out the balance that's owing on the transaction. Then we'll register the documents at land titles, and then we'll follow that up with a final report once the documents have been registered at land titles. So I kind of broke this down into 6 phases here. So step 1 is when the offer is accepted. Step 2, the conditional period. So this is once the conditions have been removed. And in between step 2 and 3 is normally when you should be contacting your lawyer. So at least 3 to 4 weeks before closing. Step 3, the mortgage instructions are sent to the lawyer. Step 4, you have the actual signing appointments. And then step 5 is the closing date. And then step 6 is post-close.
Yeah.
We're reviewing the offer. So a lot of this had already been covered with Serge. So the only thing I really wanted to focus on this part is one of the conditions you can put into your contract is that subject to lawyer's approval. So we can review the contract for you and the offer before you finalize that. So a lot of people don't know you can do that. So that's one of the things that we just want to point out there. The rest of them, Serge already mentioned, like the financing commitment, review of condo docs if you are purchasing a condominium, including permits, repair, typically by the sellers, and property searches for legality of suites. If the place you're buying also is like a rental unit, we want to review that too. So real property reports versus title insurance. So unless you're buying a condo, the offer to purchase requires the seller to provide either a current real property report with compliance or title insurance. So a real property report is a survey that's prepared by Alberta Land Surveyor. It's going to be showing that the property boundaries, location of the house and structures like garage, decks, fences, and sheds, any setbacks and distances from the property lines, and if there's any encroachments. Normally they will have, like some of them will have municipal compliance. That just means the city has basically reviewed the real property report and made sure everything's in compliance in terms of the rules and regulations. This is best for buyers who want certainty about their physical boundaries and compliance before closing. If the seller does not have an RPR or it's not current, they will opt to adjust the contract and substitute title insurance for real property report. So that's going to actually be in the actual purchase contract. Title insurance, on the other hand, so title insurance is it's an insurance policy that protects the owner and the lender against certain title related risks. So it's going to covers the required changes to the structures because of any permits or setbacks problems that weren't addressed in the property report. So what it covers is going to be the known title defects, fraud, forgery on titles, some encroachments, errors in surveys, work done without permits, And it is best for like fast closing, or if you don't have a real property report, or when the survey compliance cannot be confirmed in time. We can, if you have real property report, we can get compliance. It takes a little longer before closing, and it's more costly. So a lot of the time, we just close with title insurance. So due diligence. Again, this is kind of a repeat of some of the presentations already, but before your purchase becomes final, you should carefully investigate some of these things here. So financing approval, you want to make sure you do have approval before you sign that purchase contract. Do the home inspections. You want to review title and the property taxes. Like I said, we do review these for you, and we'll review them during the meetings on the signing appointments. If you are purchasing a condo, you do want to review the bylaws, financial statements, there's reserve fund studies, special assessments, and also meeting minutes. You want to make sure you're counting home insurance before closing. This is going to be required, especially if you are getting mortgage proceeds from a lender. You want to review utility costs and service providers, and also if you're again purchasing a unit that is being rented out, you want to make sure you've had a chance to review any leases, lease agreements before you assume that agreement there. So working with your lender. So once you have been approved, the deal isn't signed, we'll receive the mortgage instructions from your lender. So we'll review, normally they're like it's a package of instructions, and we prepare the documents on behalf of them. So we'll review the lender's conditions to make sure all the requirements have been met prior to funding. We will review title and do all the due diligence for you in terms of making sure you clear title. We'll register the mortgage over brand titles and ensure the lender is secured and protected. Like I said, we prepare the mortgage documents. We'll review all that stuff with you during the second appointment. We'll coordinate funding. So we have to request funds. Once you sign the documents, we got to send them in and request funds. Normally this takes 3 to 4 days. So it's very important that you reach out to us and make sure all the funding is done in advance so that we can make sure we meet all the deadlines before closing. Some banks are different, but most of them are between that 3 to 4 range. Once the deal closes, we do have to report to the lender once we get registration. And then we will use the mortgage funds along with down payment to pay the seller for the cash purchase. So signing appointments, we normally like to have these 1 to 2 weeks prior to closing. The way we do it here at this firm is half of it's going to be in digital and half it's going to be in person. So when the digital documents are mostly going to be like your retainer letters, your basically acknowledgement, directions of how we're going to use the funds that we receive. Again, the high ratio mortgage acknowledgement that was brought up earlier, and then also the consent to act for the lender. In-person documents are going to be primarily the actual lender documents, your mortgage documents, and any transfer documents. So those have to be witnessed in person. We do offer virtual signing appointments. They are permitted in Alberta, so if you weren't able to come in person, we can do those digitally. But again, we need to make sure we make the proper appropriate arrangements prior to advance, because you have to send the documents to you, and then once you sign them and met online, you have to send them back to us. So we can't just do like a digital DocuSign for those documents. So again, if you're going to be doing that, make sure you're giving your lawyer enough time to make those arrangements.
1-year-old.
So the closing costs. So this is kind of the statement, so the estimated shortfall calculation that we do provide our clients. So you'll see on the top here, it's going to start with the purchase price. So that's going to be what you would read for purchase price to be for the property. We're going to make adjustments. So you're going to have like property tax adjustments. You're buying a condo, so the condo fee adjustments, homeowners association fee, and rent. And it's going to depend on when you're closing throughout the year. So typically, when you're purchasing a property, you're going to be responsible. The seller's going to be responsible from, it's based from January to December. The seller's going to be responsible from the beginning of January to the closing date. Purchaser is responsible from the closing date. So that's how we do the adjustments. Once you do those adjustments, then we calculate what your mortgage advance is going to be. So what the amount that we're actually getting at the firm. So that's going to be minus all your mortgage costs and fees. That's going to be discussed with your broker. Once we have that amount, we'll do a calculation, and then we'll also add our legal fees. So our legal fees, which I'll get to in a second, they are flat rate, so they're not hourly. So they're based on if you're going to have a mortgage. So if they're a purchase without a mortgage, it's going to be $95 flat rate, and then for a purchase with a mortgage, it's going to be $995. So once we make those calculations, then we're going to come up with what's called the cash to close. That's going to be the amount that we require to basically close the transaction and send it over to the seller's lawyer. So on our website, actually, we do have a mortgage calculator. So I'll go to it here. For some reason, I can't get into it, but when you go to the website, we're going to have a mortgage calculator. What you can do is you can put in what the purchase price is going to be for your transaction and what the amount of mortgage is, the amount of your mortgage is going to be. And it's going to break down basically our fees, the estimated disbursements, and then also the land titles registration costs. And it's going to give you an estimate of what the total legal fees are going to be for that transaction. So you kind of have a heads up before you meet with us. These are going to be estimates. So like the disbursement costs, that's going to be like your couriers that we have to send documents back and forth between the seller's lawyer. If we're doing any kind of deposits, we have to get couriers for that too. The searches that we do of land titles, the property tax, all that, those all fall under the disbursements. So that's going to change, but the legal fee itself will be the same. So what happens on possession day? So the big thing here is just make sure you keep an eye on your deadlines. So the realtor, broker, lawyer, we're all going to keep you on track in terms of the applicable deadlines there. But you want to be mindful of your financing condition dates, property inspection condition dates, and the meeting you have with the lawyer and your closing date. Don't forget about your insurance. So if you will need to obtain property insurance prior to the closing date. So shop around for the best date or best rate. You want to make proper arrangements for possession. So you want to make sure you contact your utility companies to move accounts. You want to make sure you arrange movers and consider if you need like a transition period between moving out of your rental, moving into your new home, Vice County Post, banks, all that stuff. On the actual closing day, so what happens is once we get the funds, they normally come into our office around 9 to 11 a.m. between there. We will prepare all the documents to send over to the seller's lawyer. That typically is around noon. And then we will, once the sellers receive the sale proceeds, they'll reach out to the realtor and they'll tell them they can release keys. That's when you get keys.
Well, we're assuming that Branden did the estimation. Good, if they'll have
So that's basically what we do here as lawyers. Do you guys have any questions
Yeah,
about any of this?
but like, why is this?
We're just thinking, when you're buying a house, suppose they are like outstanding utility bills, who does the checking? Is it me the buyer? Or
No, so we'll do that search for you. So normally it depends on what piece of house we're buying in, but we'll do the search. It'll actually say like if some of them will have the utility outstanding, depending on arrears in there.
Yeah.
And so we'll know that. So that's going to be on the sellers to make sure that's taken care of. And we'll make sure that's taken care of prior to. So that's going to be addressed before. Yeah. Any other questions? We're good?
All good?
Yeah.
So, one thing that Branden, I don't think mentioned, if you remember, when he was at this page, you were saying, oh, here there are the legal fees. Here at Bosecke LLP, all my clients get a 10% discount on the legal fee portion of these costs.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's nice.
perfect. So everybody's good with Brandon so far? We're good to go?
Yeah.
Move on. All right, we're almost done, guys.